All right, well, we're back in here probably for the last time this year. So I'm heading away over New Year's. I've got a couple of things to do to the car, but also I've got to do a few upgrades. So one thing I've got to do is I'm going to sort out the charge wire off the alternator. I'll show you what happens with that between the signal wire and the charge wire, and why it's good to do this little change, especially if it's got a like a high amp alternator on there. So I'll show you that. I'll show you a handy little hint how to pop dints out. So if you watched the Talangi video the other week, you would have seen that I put a little dint in my quarter, freshly painted quarter. So I'll show you a nice way to pop that out, which should come out pretty nice. So we'll get on to that. Also, a couple other things that I'll be doing in the new year to this car is I want to get rid of this battery under the bonnet. Yeah, it just takes up a lot of room. It's real tight on the throttle body, and just having all that weight on that guard is never good for them. It's a common thing for GQs to crack all the inner guard out, which this hasn't, but because I've braced it all. But yeah, I just want to get rid of it, put it somewhere. So I finally got some winch motors ordered. So if you watched a couple of my other videos with this car, the winch motors are just worn out. They've just had enough. It still sort of works, but I have got some new winch motors on the go. I was hoping they'd be here before Christmas, but with the Christmas rush and everything, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So that'll be something else in the new year. Also in the new year, I've got to sort out a sway bar, control arms, a rear panhard, a couple other things to continue on this engineering process and get that all done so then the car's engineered. But the main reason for this video is, if you've been following for a while, probably 12 months now, you would have known that I've been having mismatched front shocks. So I mounted bypass shocks in, found out that they were two right-hand shocks, and the right-hand one wouldn't fit in the left. It just could not make it work. So I've been waiting a long time for this, and finally, it's arrived. I've got a left-hand bypass shock, so I am happy to see this. I'm a little bit bummed that they've changed the adjusters. So these have got clickers on them, and the other ones are like a grub screw Allen key with a lock nut setup. So that's going to be a little bit frustrating for trying to tune them up, but it is what it is. I'm sort of hoping that, you know, this might do 10 turns from all the way out to all the way in, and I'm sort of hoping that the grub screw's the same, so you can still sort of count the turns out and get them pretty much the same. So ideally what I should be doing is pulling the right-hand bypass shock out and putting some fresh oil in it and fresh gas, but I'm not going to do that because I want this shock in there. I want to sort it out and adjust it up and just see if the valving is right. I don't want to pull the shock out just to maybe pull them out in the future again to reshim them. So that's what I've got to do. I'll run you through that. We'll drop this in. I've got to adjust the limit strap, adjust the shock up, get it in there, and finally I've got all 4 shocks in the car, which I am pumped about. So that also means if I get that shock in and it fits with the mounts that I've made and everything, come the new year, I will be looking at selling kits. So a few people have been like constantly messaging me, asking me when I'm going to be selling the kits, but I never wanted to sell the kit knowing that, you know, at that stage you would have run into the same problem as me and ended up with 2 right-hand shocks. And then, yeah, I'd literally just sell you something and then you're stuck like I am. So I wanted to wait till this shock came in. I wanted to put it in. I wanted to make sure it worked, and then, yeah, go ahead and start selling kits. So all going well. Towards the end of this, I'll let you know if it all works, and yeah, I'll be looking to selling kits in the new year. I've also got to put the 35s back on because I had these on for Talangi, and then I've got to change the spare wheel latch. That latch is rubbish, so I bought another one. Got to cut that off and replace that, but that's a boring job. So anyway, so first thing first, we'll get into this alternator, run a new charge wire, sort out this signal wire, and yeah, then go from there. I also just got a fresh batch of stickers. So this is a new one. It actually is awesome. I'm very happy with that one. We've got the OG ones, which are the first ones, and these as well. That one's courtesy of Sherry. So if you are chasing any stickers, yeah, message me on Instagram. I've got a few of them, so if you want them. And also in the new year, I'll probably be doing another run of shirts, maybe singlets and jumpers and a bit of other stuff with a couple different designs. I just got to work out the best way to do it, whether I somehow start a website or I don't know. So if you are interested in any of that, keep an eye out in the new year. I was going to do it like October, November, but I didn't really want to be taking everyone's money before Christmas with everything that's going on. So I'll wait till after Christmas, back in when the working year kicks back off, and then yeah, I'll probably do something late January, February or something like that. So yeah, keep an eye out for that too. All right, so I'm just tinkering with this alternator. It's hard to see in there, and I do have a spare loom here. So I thought I'd just cut it up and show you. So this is the alternator charge wire. This goes to the 2-pin plug on the back of the alternator, and there's another little wire next to it. So this is your 12-volt sense wire. Tells the alternator how much voltage it's seeing. And then next to this wire in that plug is your trigger wire, which triggers the alternator when you turn the car on. So yeah, and that's your charge wire. So what they do is it goes into this fuse panel, which is in the EFI cars next to the battery. And then it goes into all this spaghetti, and that goes to your battery. So essentially these are joined up in the loom. Now I know on the earlier cars, the Series 1, this sense wire comes straight off here somewhere. So what it's saying is the alternator sees its voltage from 100 mil past the alternator. So if you have any voltage drop or anything through here, the alternator can't see it. So what you can do is get rid of the charge wire and use the sense wire only straight to the battery. So the alternator's seeing what voltage it's seeing at the battery, not off the back of the alternator. So because this is a bit different in the Series 2, where it goes all the way up into the loom, this is all tucked in, and this is all under the brake reservoir, master cylinder, and yeah, all the jargon's in there. So what I'm going to do is just take the charge wire off the alternator and tape it back somewhere out of the way, and then leave this signal wire to get it signal directly from the battery, and then run my own heavier charge wire from the alternator straight to the battery, because it is like a 120 amp alternator. So yeah, you can imagine trying to feed 120 amps through like a 6 mil bloody wire. So I'm going to yeah, just put a bit bigger charge wire on there. It should help keep the batteries topped up, should help them recover quicker as well. If you are yeah, using the winch a lot or whatever, should help send the current to the batteries a bit more efficiently. Righto, well that job's out of the way. So you can see that charge wire. It's like just something I had lying around, 35 mil squared I think it is. So it's probably a bit excessive, but I did just have the car running with like the compressor and that, and I noticed that the voltage was a fair bit more stable. And yeah, the car's been sitting around and probably sitting at like an extra 0.2 of a volt by doing that. So it seems to work pretty well. The real test to be just when I take it out and use it. So, but regardless, having a bigger charge wire is something that should really be done, because like I showed you before, the setup for the factory charge wire is really not that good. Right, well while the car's in forward, I think I'll throw this bypass shock in. So I'll get to that at the same time, put the other wheels on, but we'll get that shock in and adjust the limit strap, adjust the bypass tubes, and then yeah, see how it rides. So yeah, you would have had to been following for a little while to know that yeah, I obviously made my own mounts to fit a bypass shock in, and yeah, the whole saga with that, where they only made, at the time, apparently there was a problem with the factory, they were only making right hand ones, and they're still labelled left and right, but they were just right hand ones in regards to orientation of the bypass tubes and that. So coil over to the rescue, which was a spare off my race car, and I had to get some spacers and that made up to fit it in. But finally, the missing piece of the puzzle. So I'll get cracking, we'll get that in. Righto, well I've got all that in. It all looks good. If you can see that in there. So the adjusters are actually, they're really good. Like, it is a pain on the other side. You have to crack the lock nut and then unscrew the grub screw with an Allen key. And yeah, this way with the clickers, it like clicks every quarter turn, click, click, click. So that's actually pretty awesome. So I did, yeah, see if they would be the same amount of rotations from in to out, but they're not. So I've just worked it out and roughly got them pretty close, which is just what I've got to do at the moment. So maybe one day when I pull them apart, give them a rebuild, maybe I can hopefully convert the other one to this style. I don't know if they've got a different design going into the bypass tube or something like that. So that is pretty annoying, but whatever. I've been waiting long enough, so that'll do. I adjusted up the limit strap with the clevis, so that's adjustable. So adjusted her up. I've got about 18 mil of shaft still up there, so that allows for a little bit of stretch in the limit strap. Should stop the shocks topping out. So I'll slap the wheels on and then we'll get into popping this dint out. A few of you might find this really handy, so we'll get onto that. All right, so what you'll need is an air compressor and mainly one of these little buggers that screw on to the end of the fitting there. I think actually if you got like a King's Thumper compressor, I think it actually comes with one of them. And then head down to Kmart and get yourself a basketball, netball and whatever. So what we do is shove it in there like that. Got to get it really flat so you can shove it in there. Shove the needle in there, obviously have the little valve bit facing out. And we just go turn the compressor on. Ideally you'd want like a ball valve or something on that, so you could just like do it in the back. But we're gonna have a go from here and we'll see what it does. So that's what it looks like. We'll see how we go. Need to get it in his back bit a bit more, I think. Oh, so I just tinkered with that for a bit. I've done it about 3 or 4 times. It's actually real hard to get the ball right back in there. Yeah, so this little section here, it's still a little dent. Unfortunately, it did crack the paint. But if you have a look at that, whether you can see that or not, it's heaps better than it was. So, a bit bummed about the paint, but whatever. Looks a little bit better. All right, well, I've just put a bit of sealer stuff over the paint cracks just to stop hopefully stop all the water getting in behind it and rusting it out and whatever. So that'll have to get fixed one day. But yeah, you can see on the panel part, it all come out good. It was on this body line here and around on this body line where it goes in for the tail light. It was a little bit tricky. And it was so far in, but say if the dint was out in this panel here, you could have a sizable dint and they use that method to pop it out and like it comes out pretty good. If you got like kinks in the panel or anything like that, it won't come out perfect, but if it's just pushed in, you can generally pop it back out pretty easy. So keep that in mind. So I wrap it up here. It's back on the 35s, ready for New Year's. There's still a couple more things to do, but nothing you'll see. The video wasn't too exciting, but it was more so just yeah, me letting you know that this is the last video for the year. I don't know when I'll be back. January sometime, probably, maybe late January, depending on how busy I am. Got a few things on the works. It's going to keep me very busy, so I don't know, I'll hopefully try and bank up a few videos and then make a comeback in yeah, January at some stage, so keep an eye out for that. And also, like I mentioned earlier, I will be selling these bypass kits now that I've fitted it all up. It fits. I've got to go make a few minor changes to them, and then yeah, I'll put something out early next year for anyone who's keen to buy them. If you want stickers, message me now. I've got a heap of them. And also keep an eye out for the merch stuff, which will be coming out starting next year too. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be talking about it in the videos, and mainly on Instagram as well, as where I post stuff. So yeah, thanks for sticking around for the year. If you've just subscribed yesterday, thanks. And if you subscribed at the start of the year, also thanks. And for all the guys that have been following since the start, thank you. So yeah, enjoy your Christmas and New Year's. And I know I will, getting away from, we're going up the bush, going away. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you in the new year.